Good evening. I'm great. How are you doing tonight?
Fantastic. The sun is out, and that always puts a smile on my face. You know, Ted, I think we kind of maybe have lost track of the semester because of everything else that we're dealing with. But this is the last week of classes. Final start next week. It's a semester that nobody's going to forget, whether you're a student, a faculty member. It has been one that they will talk about for decades to come. How do you feel like the students and your faculty have adapted to the newness of the last month and a half?
Well, there's no doubt this situation that we're in is not one that anybody anticipated or wanted, but to the class of 2020, those that are taking their last final exams, that'll graduate and do their commencement exercises here in a couple weeks, they will go down in history as the most remembered class for the resiliency, for what they've done, and for our faculty and staff, for them to adapt and go from what was kind of like business as usual in January, and then to shift to go to complete remote education and deliver that mission the way that they've done. You know, again, none of us are particularly happy with the situation that we have to deal with, but given where we are, we should all just take a step back and thank our faculty, thank our staff, and really thank our students for stepping up and doing such a great job.
Absolutely, and best of luck to those students who will start their final exams come Monday at the various campuses around the state. Well, that's this school year. You made a big announcement, Ted, last Friday about next fall. You have gone on record saying you're going to have plans in place to welcome students back to campus. Tell us about the thinking that went into this decision and the reasoning for making the announcement here in April.
Well, Greg, as you know, we've been working on this for not just last week, but really since COVID-19 hit us. From that moment we decided to go to remote education to the moment we decided that for this summer we would go to remote education. But we wanted to have a path to get to being on campus for our educational mission. I want to give the students, their families, as well as our faculty and staff something that everybody right now has been yearning for, and that is a sense of predictability. For those that might critique us and say this was a little too early, I would say, we have a lot of things that we know. There's still a few things that we don't know, but we have a path to make sure that we do this safely and that we will have, our education mission happening on campus. I'm excited. The response has been terrific. And for those students that were still wondering about whether or not they were going to decide to come back to campus or new prospective freshmen, we've given them an extra set of time. We moved our deadline for decision from 1 May to 1 June. And by making this announcement now, we've given everybody that, that decision space so they can come and get that on-campus experience. And we're hearing that from families, from our students. They are aching for that. 65% of students across the country said they don't want to do online education. They want to be back on campus. We heard that, and we want them back on campus too. So this was an important decision. We're doing this based on data, science. We have an extensive checklist of things that we're going to go through to make sure that our campuses are safe for everybody involved.
And that may require some social distancing, I would guess, too. You probably may have to think about how you set up some classrooms as you move through the summer and get ready to welcome everybody back in the fall.
Bit differently. I mean, there's no doubt that the next semester in the fall is not going to be business as usual. We knew that coming out of here. There may be still some things that we have learned through COVID-19 that we're still going to apply. Things like physical distancing. We may be seeing students wear some sort of face masks going across campus, and even getting into some of the classrooms. We'll be more spread out. We'll be thinking about that through the dorms, through our eating facilities, our dining facilities. So yes, it will not be exactly business as usual, but that's for the safety of our students and our staff.
Ted, you mentioned earlier about having to learn how to teach via Zoom, via conferencing, whatever was necessary to finish out this semester. I'm sure that doesn't cover everything. I mean, a big part of it, a big mission of university is research projects and some collaborative work. How has that been affected? And I'm sure those folks can't wait to get back to kind of a normal, to be back into their system, to get up to doing what they do on a daily basis.
Right. Well, some parts of education are definitely experiential. Think about laboratories and some of those type of those items, but as well as the research and development part of our mission. We kept that going through a lot of this, and when we got to the point where we had to physically close the campuses, we had to close that down. So we'll be opening that spigot back up. That will be back on in full bore. Those are not as crowded areas where we do some of that work and that research. But even for those lab spaces, we want to be able to get back to the experiential type of learning that we're so good at, and this is what students are yearning for to come back to campus.
Again, visiting the University of Nebraska President Ted Carter here on Sports Nightly on the Husker Sports Network. We're so lucky to have so many experts, Ted, right in our backyard with the university planning for these next few months. You referenced UNMC earlier. I know they're working on some tools to help you develop to put the plan in safe for a safe return to in-person learning. Can you give us a few hints on some of the tools that are in the works?
Yeah, so we've been working with our UNMC partners and sharing a draft checklist with our chancellors. It's still in draft. We're still working on it, but there's enough there that will give us a very clear path with separation and timing, understanding what we have to do to clean our facilities, go through the engineering decisions we have to do, the physical spacing, and then even the kind of the dashboard metrics that will show us, given that we know we're going to have an extensive amount, a lot more testing available, as well as the contact tracing capability that we will build in. So we'll have day-to-day knowledge of where coronavirus might be either existing on our campus or if there's an acceleration of it. So we'll be able to react and isolate and manage that much more capably than we have been over the last few months. I'm excited about this. This is not going to only apply to our 4 main campuses in the university system. We will be sharing this with the state colleges, our community colleges, our K-12 partners, and even those from out of our state. There are a lot of universities and colleges all over the country that are saying, hey, we intend to be open in the fall. A lot of them are doing that just because they say, if we don't, the economics are going to crush us. So, this is more than wishful thinking. As I've said in some of my communications, as I've come to know Nebraskans already, Nebraskans are problem solvers, not problem gazers. So we are going after this in a problem-solving way to make sure that we're using science and data and logic, and a lot of it's common sense for how we're going to approach this.
Ted, last Wednesday we talked about Nebraska Promise. You announced that about 10 days ago. What kind of feedback have you had on that? Again, kind of maybe get people up to speed what it exactly is, and how do you think that's going to help move the needle on the goals for economic growth in Nebraska?
Well, there's no doubt that we want to make sure that we have as large of an enrollment class for the academic year 2020 going into 2021 as we can possibly have. By virtue of making that announcement where we have offered that tuition for free to families whose adjusted gross income is $60,000 or less, had an immediate response. So on all of our campuses, especially here at the Lincoln, we have seen an uptick in applications, and those that put in for financial aid, we're excited about that. We were a little bit down on Nebraska applications, as you would expect going into a couple weeks ago. We're closing that gap very quickly. The announcement of opening our campus in the fall is also starting to close that gap. At the end of the day, we want to be different than the other campuses across the country. Everyone's expecting some enrollment dips going into the fall. And yes, we understand there may be some students that still want to use online education as opposed to being on campus. We'll have those opportunities there. But we know that the on-campus experience is so much better than the online program. I mean, you can get the academic mission, but to get that whole person education where you get the social, the emotional, as well as the full academic, as well as the experiential part of being on campus, that is really what the college experience is all about. So we're excited about the combination of Nebraska Promise plus our dedication to being open in the fall. We are seeing the enrollment numbers starting to look better. And I want to say to all those potential students out there, we want you to come be here in Nebraska.
Fantastic. It is a wonderful initiative that you launched about 10 days ago. Well, the governor has been announcing some loosening of some of the restrictions for our communities in the coming weeks. I know people are excited about that because it can maybe give them a sense of normalcy back in your life. I know Husker fans can't wait to get back in our venues and support their teams. What is it you're looking forward to once we get back to kind of a normal life again? Is there something you can't wait to get doing again?
Well, as you know, I'm here in downtown Lincoln right now, and I'm looking forward to just seeing people in the downtown area, whether they're going to a sporting event, coming back, or just enjoying the venues that are here in downtown. Any return to normalcy, even though it'll take a while for us to get back to that full normal, I'm looking forward to that. And of course, as we'll follow what NCAA and the rest of, what will allow us to go back to those full large-scale events. I'm looking forward to just being in a sporting venue with Nebraska fans cheering on their Huskers, screaming "Go Big Red." I'm looking forward to that day.
No doubt. Ted, thank you so much. We appreciate this. It's so valuable to hear you and give the update to the folks, and we'll do this again next Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Try to get out, maybe have a walk in some of this beautiful weather we've been having.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Ted Carter with us here on Sports Night, the president of the University of Nebraska. He joined us on our Sports Night hotline, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This